The power of the Most High is second to none. You are getting ready to experience 3 to 7 minutes of power facts like you've never seen it before. You will experience the unadulterated pure power of the Most High and its working towards his people. The destruction of our enemies is nigh at hand. The deliverance of his chosen ones is near. Come with me and experience the power of our Elohim, for he alone is worthy of all praises. In this 1-hour special edition of episode 4, The True Current Day Israelites, you will see historically as well as biblically that without a shadow of a doubt that the Negroes scattered to the 4 corners are indeed the current day true Israelites, as well as the true descendants of the ancient Hebrews of the Bible. You will also discover the lies of the Khazarians who are currently living in our land over in Jerusalem, claiming to be Jews, but are not, for they are the synagogue of Satan. It's time for the lies to stop. The word of the Most High has always been our book, written only by Israelites, for only Israelites. 2 Peter chapter 1 verses 20 through 21 says it best. Knowing this first, that no prophecy of the scripture is of any private interpretation. For the prophecy came not in old time by the will of man, but holy men of Yahuwah spoke as they were moved by the Ruach HaKodesh. So don't get it twisted, Zion. The Most High has preserved his word through his prophets. The Bible says, "But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, an holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light." Ever since 1869 until this current date, we have been suffering from an identity crisis. Our people are all over the place looking to fit in where they belong. Islam, Buddhism, Christianity, Catholicism, Egyptology, that's right, the good old Hotep brothers, and the conscious community. After all, did not the Bible say that when the yokes of iron came off, we would be completely destroyed as a people, not having a single clue to who we were? And those exact words hit its mark in our time. The Most High was speaking directly to his people when he spoke these words. "Therefore shall ye serve your enemies which Yahuwah shall send against you, in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon your neck until he have destroyed you." It also says in Isaiah 1:3, "The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib. But Israel doth not know, my people doth not consider." Completely destroyed as a people, being the only race on earth mixing and blending in with every heathen nation on the planet instead of our own people. Zion, it's a crying shame that the animals of the earth have more sense than we do, but we supposed to be way more intelligent than they. But they stick with their own kind. In spite of all the atrocities we had to endure, there's a small remnant that are waking up through the Spirit of the Most High. Not because we found him, but because of the covenant that was made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The Most High said that we would remain the apple of his eye. So let's cut to the chase and gain some profound facts. For many years, the true children of Yahuwah have been discredited and lied on by historians, teachers, pastors, and the world elite leaders. But one thing about the heathens we must realize, Zion, they document everything, and I mean everything. The heathens can try to hide the truth all they want from the Most High's people, but they can never erase the facts that the Negroes scattered to the four corners are indeed the true Hebrew descendants. Now I challenge every one of you Israelites, every Israelite families, to sign up with your public library if you don't already have a public library card. And I mean, it's free. And they have a lot of documented information. And you need to take your families, go there, and look up all the archives of the slaves that came over to America and other countries. You will be surprised to know that our ancestors had Hebrew names. That's right, had Hebrew names before they got off that ship. But see, historians don't want you to know that. The teachers don't want you to know that. The world elites do not want you to know that. So it's going to be up to us to do our due diligent research. There's many slavery database websites you can explore and go to for slave documented information. I mean, the sky's the limit. There's much out there, Zion. And when you go to these database sites, just try typing in Hebrew words such as Yah, Ben, Tob, Hab, and many more. Try typing all these surnames in and you're going to be amazed. You're going to be stunned to find out that just about all of them, you'll see all these Hebrews who came over here on these ships. And you're going to see that they had Hebrew names. And it's going to even show the ship number, the name of the ship, and where they landed. I mean, it's amazing, Zion. We just got to do the research. We just have to get up off our rear ends and do the research for ourselves. So I'm going to show you a few here from what I've seen and discovered. You have just seen with your own eyes the evidence of the names of our forefathers that came over here on these ships. Hebrew names. Igbo from the Igbo tribes. Mandingos. They're all Hebrews. This is the kind of stuff that will tear down strongholds. But don't stop there, Zion. You keep doing the research. We're not even halfway done with the facts. Because next we're going to get in to proving that the people who lived in the Middle East during Hamashiach's time were black people. Hebrews. We're going to prove that. I'm going to show you a lecturer, one of my favorites, that has some outstanding, profound facts that will prove that these brothers and sisters look like Negroes of today, living in the Middle East. And I'm not talking about these white Arabs that historians love to push in our faces so they can say that their white God was white. Nothing can be further from the truth. You see, the world elite do not want you to know this. The Khazarians, who control the movie industry, the music industry, the news, medias, and outlets, they do not want you to know this kind of information because it debunks all the lies they have put out to try to cover up who the true children of the Most High's people are. I'm going to leave all the links to the slavery database so that you can continue to do the research. But I want to show you something real quick. Now, Zion, I want you to really think about something here. It was very common for us to take on the names of our captors. So when you read Daniel, the book of Daniel chapter 2, and it talks about this image, the Most High is given a future prophecy to Daniel and what's going to take place from his time all the way to the current times that we're living in. But the point that I want to make is this. You look at Babylon. When Babylon took us captive, we took on the names of the Babylonians, right? So we were given Babylonian names. And then when the Persians came along, we took on the names of the Persians. It's common. It was common for the captives to take on the names of their captors. Then here comes Greece. Our people took on the names of the Greeks. Then comes the Romans. And to this current day, we have taken on the names of Europeans. So Zion, this name that we have is a slave name. It's the names of our captors. Jackson, Williams, the Moores, the Bennetts, all those names. We can go on and on and on. And so this is evident. This is supreme proof of the fulfillment of Deuteronomy chapter 28. Even our slave names alone says volumes. You can't get away from that. That is the biggest evidence right there. We have taken on European slave names. So that means whatever your last name, that's the name of the slave owners that own your ancestors. And this captivity is going to continue until the Most High comes back as being represented in this stone that you see on this picture, striking down all these world kingdoms right before our very eyes. Prophecy is being fulfilled in real time. The book of Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 22 says, "And ye shall be my people, and I will be your Elohim." Now I want you to think about something here. We belong to the Most High. So wouldn't it make sense for us to have Hebrew names that represent our Elohim? Names like Yah, Ben, Tob, and Hab. and many more Hebrew surnames. But it wasn't until our forefathers sinned against the Most High, and the Most High allowed us to go into captivity, so therefore we took on the names of our captors. Now it makes sense, doesn't it, Zion? See, when we disobeyed the Most High and wanted to be like the heathens and marry their women and intermingle with them, the Most High says, okay, I'm going to let them rule over you. Let their gods deliver you. And unto this very current day, Zion, we are living out the sins of our forefathers, and we have these European slave names. All across the four corners, our people have these slave names. Zion, it's time to snap out of this mess and get back to serving the Most High and keeping His laws, commandments, and statutes. All right, let's get some more profound power facts here. So now I want to talk about our people dwelling in the regions of Africa and the Middle East during Hamashiach's time. Now I want you to get this, Zion, and I'm going to throw this out here to you because I want you to think, use your head. Now, why is it that the word Africa and the word Middle East does not appear in our scriptures? You want to know why? Because the name Africa and the name the Middle East did not exist during biblical times. The naming of Africa and the Middle East did not come about until these heathen colonizers came on the scene. Because if you really want to get technical, you look at the old world maps, and even the old world maps have been snatched from the internet because the historians do not want you to know the truth of why we existed in those regions. And when you look at these old world maps, at least the ones you can find online, what they call the Middle East today and parts of Africa were all one region. There was no such thing as a Middle East during Hamashiach's time. There was no such thing as an Africa. You had different countries like Ethiopia, Egypt, and other countries. But as far as the naming of Africa, that did not exist during Hamashiach's time, Zion. You can do the research, but historians do not want you to know this. Now, here's something else that's going to blow your mind. Try looking up some old world maps on the ancient region of Mesopotamia, and you will see that they consist of the regions of what they call the Middle East today and parts of Africa. That was Mesopotamia. That was the old world. And so the information is out there. You just got to reach for it and you got to dig for it. And that's why it's helpful to go to these libraries, because you can actually pull up some of these old world maps that they don't have on the internet. And there's another word that was known also for that region, and it was called Alkebulon. And so it is the oldest and only word of the indigenous origin. It was used by it was used by the Moors, and we know the Moors are black people. The Nubians are black people, and the Carthaginians and the Ethiopians. These were the people who were living in those regions during that time. So Zion, this is some powerful, powerful stuff, Zion, because the world elites does not want you to know that our people were living there during that time, and that there's no such thing of a name called Middle East and Africa. So they were all one region at one time. And how do you think the baby Hamashiach was able to blend in with the people there during that time? Because they had to flee from that wicked heathen king Herod when his parents took him and fled to Egypt. It didn't say they fled to Africa. It said they fled to Egypt. So he had to blend in. That was the only way they can hide him, because he looked like everybody else in those regions. And that's why during that time, the people who lived in those regions were black people. Don't let these historians trick you and fool you, making you think that these white people lived over there all this time? I mean, just the fact that you don't see the word Africa and Middle East in the scriptures should even tell you that the Europeans, the heathens, they lie about everything. Everything was done skillfully and purposely to deceive the whole nations, because at one time, Zion, we ruled the world and they knew it. So during the time of Hamashiach and the apostles, when the Roman Empire was ruling the world, and we all know that the Romans were not black because they stood out like a sore thumb. So we know for a fact that other than the Romans being over there, the most of what they call the Middle East and Africa was mainly of people of color, black people. And that is a fact. Now you wonder why they don't teach you this in their history books. You know why they don't teach you this in their history books? Because they don't want you to know at one time we ruled the world. And they don't want you to know that black people are the smartest people on the face of the earth. These Negroes are the smartest people on the face of the earth. Always been. It's just too bad that we kept following after idols. But these world elites, they know the truth and they know the deal. And that's why they're not going to teach you this stuff in their history books. They're going to omit it. They're going to leave it completely out because they want you to be ignorant. There's an old saying, Zion, that if you want to hide something from a black person, put it in a book. And our people do not like to read. Another group of people you would not hear about or hear in your history books are the Moors. Now the word Moors, it's not a religion, it's not a cult, it's not a culture, it just simply means black. They were the indigenous people that occupied the Middle East and Europe prior to 700 AD. Pretty amazing, isn't it? It's amazing how much valid information that can be hidden from us. Now you got to ask yourself, how come we were not taught about the Moors growing up in school? How come these pork chop eating pastors never mentioned the Moors or even brought the Moors up, brought them to our attention? There's a reason for that. There's a reason why all the information about the Moors have been omitted and have not even been added to the history books. Why? Because they were black and they occupied parts of the Middle East, or what was known as the Middle East, and parts of Europe. The historians do not want you to know this kind of information. But I want to show you this short lecture on the scientifics of the Moors. They were very smart people. And so there's a brother named Dr. Van Sertima, and he gives a lecture on the Moors and some of the things and their accomplishments. But I want you to just take a look at this, chew the meat, spit out the bones, because you cannot hide the facts. The facts are out there. The gig is up. The Bible says that in the last days, knowledge shall increase. And it's not talking about the technology that we see today, but the consciousness, the level of consciousness our people will rise to. Because everything that was hidden in the dark is now coming to the light. And Zion is waking up all over the world.
If you're black, you have to have a skull shaped like so-and-so. This skull is not like that. This nigger is not black. It's amazing. You see some of these debates, you want to really know. These are highly intelligent people like Vorkuta, for whom I have an enormous respect at UNESCO in 1974 in Cairo. He said, okay, it is quite clear that the writing is African. The culture is African. The techno-complex, as Soderbergh has showed us, is African. The languages Diop has showed us is African. We still have the problem, how many of these people are African? It's a very serious matter, because you would think that as one becomes wiser and wiser and more academic and more scientific, that you lose this emotional attachment to things. No, sir. when it comes to power, thank you. When it comes to power relationships, and when it comes to being challenged deep inside the system, right in one's guts, one does not sleep at night, knowing that you are crushing and oppressing a brother who is not only equal, but who at one time had given you critical elements in your civilization. You cannot sleep with that, therefore you have to prove to your satisfaction so that you can sleep peacefully again that that is not really a brother. It's just like when I was in Guyana, I heard of this marvelous man, this South African, very liberal South African. Strange how I forget these names of these hypocrites. What is it? Schweitzer? Yes. He said, the Negro is my brother, but he's my younger brother by several centuries. What a beautiful phrase. And we really took that. We thought that was really a compliment. At least even though we were his younger brother by several, we were still his brother. So we felt we had joined the human family again. That is the horror of it. And we find when we go through Spanish history, no major Spanish scholar will allow you to talk about the Moors for more than half an hour. They get angrier and angrier. That is one aspect of European history that is swept under the carpet. They would not talk about that because that has haunted the generation after generation, the Spanish, the Sicilians, the Portuguese. It haunted them for centuries because the Moors did not just go in and come out. The Moors went in 711 AD. They were not totally defeated until 1492. The Moorish occupation of Europe was longer than the European slave trade. But it was not a slave trade like the European. When the Moors entered Europe, they did not destroy its culture. They did not stop the people from speaking their language. They did not put them in chains. They did not take them out of schools. They did not rid them of their sense of humanity. They did not rid them of the sense of equality. So do not compare the Moorish conquest with the European conquest of Africa. Because it's the one thing to invade, as I told you, when the Greeks invaded Egypt, it was a different type of invasion. They took it over, yes, and for a while they controlled it, but they didn't seek to destroy its culture. They fed on it. They were enriched by it. And we will see the story of the Moors as an enrichment of Europe. Europe, because of the Black Death and of things that went before that and after that, had fallen into a dark age. Greece and Rome, the glory of Greece and Rome had faded. And when the Africans and Arabs attacked Europe in 711 AD, Europe had two universities. The Muslims, the Muslim Moors, the Islamic Moors introduced 17 universities in Europe. 17. Europe had two. Europe was 99% illiterate. 99% illiterate. Even some of the medieval European kings and queens did not write or read. But who are the Moors? How did this all start? It started in a sense with Muhammad. Therefore, we have to say something about him. Who is he? Muhammad, like Jesus, was a very extraordinary man. He transcended the race or sect in which he was born. He developed a universal religion. First of all, he accepted Jesus. Jesus, by the way, is part of the pantheon of prophets in Islam. They did not reject Jesus. Muhammad saw Jesus as a great prophet. He only saw himself as the last of the prophets. Muhammad also encouraged commerce that attracted the townspeople. Muhammad insisted on equality and brotherhood among all men. He made a black man his right-hand man, Bilal. And he actually talked to the fair-skinned Arabs, because they were both dark-skinned and fair-skinned Arabians, that they should not treat their darker brethren with contempt. He insisted on racial equality, and he established that in his own life by making Bilal his black right-hand man. Muhammad also insisted on conquest, that we should go out into the world and conquer it, not destroy the people, but teach them a new life, bring them that religion. And he also did not seek to destroy the indigenous cultures, where he saw an indigenous culture where the Muslims entered and they saw indigenous culture. Even though they would bring their ideas, they did not completely seek to swing it around. For example, when in Walata, for example, one of the African places where Ibn Battuta visited, he went in and found that even though the Africans call themselves Muslims and they observe the festival days and various things, they still kept up their own cultural observances side by side. It's very important to note that, because many people wonder, why did Islam become so powerful? Because Islam has more converts than Christianity. It's hard to believe that, but it is true. And at that time in the world, Muhammad was just as unfortunate as Jesus. He was born among very bigoted little people, narrow-minded people. Now, I'm not saying anything against the Arabs or the Jews. People are people. People are usually narrow-minded and bigoted until a great leader arises among them and transforms them. Muhammad, in fact, nearly lost his life because the little warring Arab tribes did not fully understand the nature of his mission, and some of them tried to kill him. Where did he flee? Into Ethiopia. And there, the beginning of the years in Islamic time begins, 622 AD, the time of the flight known as the Hijra. Now, the birth of Muhammad was around 571 AD, the flight was around 622, and he died in 632 AD. After he died, a fight broke out among the Muslims because the Sunnis and the Shiites, there was a quarrel about hereditary succession and succession by merit, etc. And as a result of that, they split. That split has haunted the Muslim world up to this day. The Sunnis and the Shiites. And you will see how, in fact, it was to affect the Moorish occupation. Now, the Arabians then charged down into various parts of the world. Now, what was Africa at that time? Africa, the Moorish, most of the Moors, the Arabians came down into parts of Africa and started to try to turn people into Muslims. Some Africans resisted, some of them accepted Islam, some of them, the kings would...
Dr. Van Sertima has many lectures on the Moors, and you can just look it up. You can Google it. Just type in Dr. Van Sertima and the Moors that occupied Europe and the Middle East, and you'll see plenty of lectures on there. But the point that I wanted to make was the fact that every time the Moors are brought up, they try to shun it away. And you know, you wonder why we did not learn about this coming up in our schools, because I guarantee you many of us did not learn this. We didn't even know about the Moors. I mean, I know I didn't learn about the Moors coming in high school. This wasn't taught in the high school I was going to. You know, maybe some of you all learned it growing up, but this was something I embarked on many years ago. It was on my own. I learned this stuff on my own. Nobody taught me this. And this is what I'm talking about. No one's going to share this kind of information with you. Now, since the heathens have been so clever in hiding our identity and using media as a tool to lie to us and to blind us to the truth, then you got to wonder, who are these people that are living in Jerusalem that are calling themselves Jews? Well, they call themselves Jewish, which Jewish means pertaining to. So who are these people who are claiming to be these Jews? They are the Khazars from the Ottoman Empire, and they have no bloodline to the ancient Hebrews of the Bible whatsoever. No bloodline, period. I'm going to be reading some inserts later on a book called The 13th Tribe by Arthur Kessler, and it exposes these Khazars and who they really are and where they're from. They are definitely not the descendants of the ancient Hebrews of the Bible, and that's a fact. Now I'm going to show you something out of the encyclopedia of Ukraine concerning these Khazars, and I want you to read this very closely. Don't take my word for it. You read it for yourself, and you're going to be blown away at what you see. And when you read it, take your time reading it. If you got to stop the video to read it, I'm going to make sure that it scrolls very slowly so you can catch every word. And when we get done reading this, then it's going to make sense when I start quoting the inserts out of this book called The 13th Tribe by Arthur Kessler. The reason why I wanted you to see this article and read it for yourself, so that you can see with your own eyes that these people that are currently living in Jerusalem, calling themselves Jews, the Khazarians, have absolutely no connections, no bloodlines tied to the ancient Hebrews of the Bible. But as you read in that article, a lot of them were converts, and they had heavy ties to the Ukraine. Makes you wonder. Now, the rabbit hole goes much deeper than you can even imagine. Now, how did these people come to be known as the so-called Jews living in Jerusalem? Because many of the people who are born over there, the tens of thousands of people that are over there, are being born into a lie every single day. And just like we had to wake up and realize who we are as a people, as the true descendants of the Israelites of the Bible, they too will wake up to the agonizing pain of the lies they lived through their fathers, of the reality that they are not and do not have any ties to the Israelites of the Bible. So that brings us to our next question. How did the world ever come to the point where they look to these people as the so-called Jews, and why do so many churches send them so much money every year? Now, the world leaders will supposedly tell you that the state of Israel became known in 1948. They claim to have the return of passage. They claim that Israel was born, but nothing could be further from the truth, because it's all a lie. Now, let me tell you something, Zion. When the true Israelites return, Hamashiach and his host of angels are going to be with us when we return. That's going to be the true return of passage. Not what you're seeing right now, because there's war constantly over there. So these people try to fit themselves into prophecy. But let's see what the scripture says. Luke chapter 21 and verse 24 says this: "And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. Are we not scattered to the four corners of the earth? And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled." So what does that mean? That means that the Most High in these last days, he's going to expose all the lies that they have told to make the world believe that these Khazarians that are currently living in Jerusalem are the Jews. The book of Jeremiah chapter 16 and verse 19 says this: "O Yahuwah, my strength and my fortress and my refuge in the day of affliction, the other nations shall come unto you from the ends of the earth, and shall say, Surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there is no profit." In other words, many of these Khazarians who are living in Jerusalem right now, claiming to be Jews, are going to have to wake up to the horrifying truth that they have been lied to for many, many years. You see, they're not going to easily be willing to admit that. See, it's going to take an act of the Most High to bring them to their knees. And it's going to be total destruction. And as we speak right now, the Most High is constantly exposing these people who are living over there. And he's exposing them in such a way where they have nowhere to run. They can't run back to Ukraine. They can't run nowhere. They are stuck, and they're going to have to face the horrifying realities of the lies of their fathers. Ever since 1948, they've been living a total lie, claiming to be us. Now, I want to share something with you all from the book called The 13th Tribe by Arthur Kessler. Now, some of you may have this book already, but if you don't, this is a good read because it exposes who the Khazars are, the ones who are currently living in Jerusalem, claiming to be us, where they come from. And this book proves that they have no ties, absolutely no blood ties to the Israelites of the Bible. So I want to read this little short insert for you all. And if you have the book, this is going to be on page 15. So it states, ironically, the last battle in the war, AD 737, ended in a Khazar defeat. But by that time, the impetus of the Muslim holy war was spent. The caliphate was rocked by internal dissensions, and the Arab invaders retracted their steps across the Caucasus without having gained a permanent foothold in the north. Whereas the Khazars became more powerful than they had previously been. Now I want you to get this next one, because this is something you really need to pay attention to. It goes on to say, a few years later, probably AD 740, the king, his court, and the military ruling class embraced the Jewish faith, and Judaism became the state religion of the Khazars. And see, Zion, this is the deal breaker, and this is what these world elites do not want you to know. They want you to believe that these people have ties to the Israelites of the Bible. You see, this book, the 13th tribe, exposes all the lies of the people currently living in Jerusalem claiming to be Jews. Now get this, how do you connect a people to the Israelites of the Bible when there is absolutely proof that these people have no bloodline connections to the Israelites of the Bible? Not even close. Well, there's only one answer. One word describes it all: converts. And if you want to get technical, they're really not converts, because when you look at them, they're not following the true commandments of the Most High. So really, they're really not convert. It was just a made-up religion they came up with over the years. It stuck, and this is where we're at. So many thousands of them are living a lie, and they're going to have to wake up to the horrifying truth. And I'm telling you, when they wake up to that horrifying truth, it's not going to be good, Zion. And the cat is already out the bag. They have nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. They have to face the reality. And you know, this information is out there. All you got to do is just dig for it and search for it, because they're getting ready to be severely exposed by the Most High. The Most High made it very clear who His true chosen people are and what they will look like. We've always been measured by our woolly hair, which represent that of a sheep. That's why we're called sheeps. The Bible says in Amos chapter 9 and verse 7, are ye not as the children of the Ethiopians unto me, O ye children of Israel, saith Yahuwah? Have not I brought up Israel out of the land of Egypt, and the Philistines from Caphtor, and the Syrians from Ker? So here, the Most High is not saying that we're Ethiopians. He said that, are you not like unto the children of the Ethiopians? In other words, we're going to look like the Ethiopians. Now, in this picture I have two pictures. In the upper left, you're going to see some Ethiopians. All right, and then the bottom right, you're going to see what they call the Khazars, the ones who claim to be Jewish, the title Jewish. So you got two distinct people here. Now I want you to take a close look at this. Now, do these people at the bottom right look like Ethiopians? Of course not. It's a far cry. So the Most High makes it clear what His people will look like. I mean, this is in the Word. This is not my words. And you can try to argue this, you can try to debate it, but the Bible is clear. The true children of Israel are Negroes, and they are scattered to the four corners. You can't get away from it, and you can't deny it. This is not something that anyone can debunk. And these lies are being exposed right before our very eyes, and the truth is coming out. The truth is coming out. And our people are waking up all over the world. It may not be a fast awakening, but it's a steady, constant awakening through the Spirit of the Most High. And He is awakening His people to the truth. And when you look at us in our entirety as a people, we are the only race of people on the face of the earth that fit all the curses. There's just too much evidence out there, Zion. Biblically, as well as historically, there's too much evidence to doubt and to have any kind of confusion. All you need to do is just do the research, pray that the Ruach will give you understanding, and once you gain that understanding and knowledge, apply it to your lives. Because I'm telling you, once we start getting back to the Most High and getting back to these laws, commandments, and statutes, the more we're going to see the true power of the revealing of the Most High. But just remember this, Zion, and if you don't learn anything else, just know that everything that's done in the dark will eventually come to the light.